go on down to week number 9, and as always, by the time you see this video, this folder should be lit up like the rest. So we'll click on week 9, and I'm going to have an introduction video for this week, and in that video I'll go over the reading for chapter 9 and the discussion question. But for right now, and the works cited page. But for right now, what I really want to focus on is the thesis. So down here, after watching this week's video on thesis development, which you're watching that now, submit the draft of your thesis to this assignment block, and I'll review all thesis statements, provide feedback. So I want to make sure that everybody's kind of on the right track. So before we start doing that, let me show you, first of all, how to go about that. Let me stretch out the screen for you. Make my face huge. Okay. So, first things first, just like with all the other theses that we've been constructing over the last few weeks, you're going to want to follow the SOAR acronym. So in case you don't remember, let me get a different pen because this one's horrible. The SOAR acronym gives you all the criteria that you're going to need for constructing a thesis. The first one is, of course, your subject. What is your subject? Your subject is going to be whatever field it is that you're working on. So if you're working on gun control, or if you decided you wanted to do self-checkout lines, or if you wanted to do racism, or anything, gossip, gay marriage, anything you want to do, that's your subject. Now your opinion is you need to find, before you work on this thesis at all, you need to find something within the field that you disagree with. So let's say that a commonly held belief is that gun control would not stop mass shootings, okay? And you need a majority to believe that, because that has to be the common held belief. So if you say that, if 90% of people say that, no, if we get gun legislation, it's not going to matter, we're still going to have mass shootings, so don't even bother with that. If that's what most people say, then you need to find a point where you disagree with that. So if you agree with it, first of all, this isn't the right topic for your essay. You need to find something that you disagree with. So to give you another example, there's a commonly held belief out there that inside our minds, we are motivated by one of 3 things: autonomy, relatedness, and competency. And what that means is that if you, autonomy, we'll say, what that means is that you feel like you are autonomous. You are a person that is individual, who is capable, who is working, and you have an identity within whatever it is you're doing. So if you work at school, if you're at your job, or you're going to school, or you're wherever, you're home, you feel like an individual within that society. So that's autonomy. Competency. This is another one, and these are the 3 things that kind of add up to make people motivated to do something. So if you want someone to do something, like say you want them to take out the trash, you need to make them feel autonomous, you need to make them feel competent, and you need to relate to them a little bit. So the second one is competency. Do you feel like you are competent enough to complete the task at hand? So if someone asks you to go out and do brain surgery, obviously you wouldn't really feel competent enough to do that. So you wouldn't probably do that. The next part of it is relatedness. Now keep in mind, this doesn't really have anything to do with the course per se, so I'm not going to ask you any questions about what does relatedness mean, what is autonomy. This is just an example that I'm using. So, relatedness, how well do you relate to the people within your structure, within your family, within your job, within your school? And these 3 together are going to tell how motivated you are to perform in that society. So if you feel like you're an individual in your home, and if you feel like you're a competent parent, and if you feel like you can relate to your family, then you're probably motivated to be a good husband, daughter, wife, whatever it is, whatever your role is in your family. Same thing if you're on the job. If you feel like you own an identity in your corporation or in your business, if you feel like you're competent to participate in that business or complete your job. And then relatedness, if you feel like you're well related to all the people that you work with, then you're probably, if all 3 of these things, you're probably motivated to do that. But let's say for a minute that you said, no. I don't think that's right. I don't think that relatedness really makes a difference. That's going to be the part of your field where you don't agree with. And that's going to be your opinion within your thesis. Let's say that maybe it's not even the fact of you disagree with. Maybe you think there's another one. Maybe you say that, well, I think what really motivates people to do something is the fact that they're not frustrated with it. And there's actually a lot of people in this field right here that say that frustration should be added to these three. And if you're curious, these three guys right here, make up what's called self-determination theory. I think I'm going to try and change a marker so you can see a little better. But those three guys are what make up self-determination theory. And that's, like I said, nothing to do with the class, just my example. So if it's interesting to you, though, it might be something you want to look up. So let's say that you want to add frustration to these three. You say, no, I don't think it's just autonomy, competency, and relatedness. I think there's more to it than that. I think also the degree to which a person gets frustrated also motivates or demotivates them to do something or not do something. And this part right here is going to be your opinion, because that is where you differ from the rest of the crowd, the rest of the field. Okay? Now that's where your opinion comes in. What is your opinion? In this case, my opinion is that frustration is also should be added to the self-determination theory, or frustration is also something that demotivates people and stops them from doing something. Now the action, that's going to be the word, or the AA in this case, the action is going to be the word that you plug in to kind of explain what your essay is doing. Is it showing something? Is it explaining something? Is it describing something? You can pretty much plug in any verb into there and it's going to be okay. Now the reason, why should readers care about what it is that you're writing? So why should I care if frustration is going to demotivate me or motivate me? You have to come up with something kind of original. And it's your reason for basically writing this essay. Why are you writing this? Why are you writing about this topic, and why should I care about it? Because if I don't care about it, then I'm not going to read your essay. And I'm not saying that from a teacher's perspective, I'm saying that from a reader's perspective. If a reader picks up your paper and they're looking at it and there's no reason for them to read it, they're probably not going to read it. So let's turn this into an actual thesis. Let me first get rid of, wow, that's horrible. Okay, so the next step is, first of all, you have to plug in your answer to each of these. So our subject for this one, we're going to do something easy. Let's say that it is, let's go with gun legislation, just because it's easy. Gun laws, basically. Now, let me stand over here so we can zoom in on the screen. Okay, you guys can see pretty good. This says subject, by the way. This says opinion, this says action, this says reason. Seems like it was kind of hard to see on your end. Okay, now your opinion. Your opinion is that, let's say that you do research and you discover that 90% of the people out there say that we need a gun ban, a full-on gun ban, no guns in the United States, done. You, however, you're different from that. You're going to say, no, I don't think it's gun banning. I think we just need a gun law. If we regulate Sudafed, then we should probably regulate guns. And maybe that's what you think. So, your opinion. Regulate, not ban. Because again, over here you have 90% of the field, 90% of people who are interested in gun laws, they all say, 90% of people say ban guns, okay? But that's not you. You're the 10%. The whole point of this is for you to figure out where you can disagree with someone in the field. So take a common held belief and figure out how you're going to disagree with it. But it has to be a common belief. It can't just be something small that no one believes anyway. So next, regulate, not ban. The action. We're going to, let's go with explain for right now, and I'll show where that fits in just a moment. So we go with explain. Bear with me on that. Now the reason. Why do we think they should be regulated instead of banned? And that's something you have to figure out. You have to ask yourself, personally, if we were going to go with this, I would say that we need to regulate them for the common argument. The common argument is that if we ban guns, then only criminals are going to have them. I mean, that would kind of be a problem, right? That's kind of the common discussion there. But if we just regulate them, now we're just kind of taking them away from some of the people that may not have them. And then some people, of course, are going to disagree with that as well. But for this example, I'm just going to go with this. So the reason we're going to regulate and not ban is because, well, not we. We are not writing your paper, you are. To keep guns with proper gun owners. And as a matter of fact, I go a step further. What does that do? Why are we just keeping them with gun owners? What is your big goal here? Well, your big goal by taking them and giving them just to proper gun owners, and of course criminals, is that hopefully you'll decrease mass shootings. Now, we need to plug that into an entire sentence. Let me move my screen over just a little bit. Adjusting, there we are. Okay, now you can see. Now I'm going to plug this in right here. So we need to plug this into an actual sentence. So what I always tell everyone is start with this sentence starter. If you want to keep this sentence starter, keep it. If you don't like it, reword it. The purpose of this essay is to, you fill in your action, you fill in your action, you fill in your subject / opinion in order to, and then another blank, and that's where you fill in your reason. So in this case, it becomes the purpose of this essay is to action, subject, opinion, in order to, and then you fill in your reason. So if we were to fill in these guys, the purpose of this essay is to explain what is our opinion, or excuse me, our subject. Gun legislation needs to be regulated and not banned. So we need to put that into a proper sentence. The purpose of this essay is to explain that gun legislation should regulate gun use. And you could fill in there, you could kind of make it more explanatory, is to explain that gun legislation should regulate gun use instead of banning gun use in order to, but it gets kind of wordy. So instead of including both parts, I just included the first part. I left out this part because it just kind of got a little bit wordy. The purpose of this essay is to explain that gun legislation should regulate gun use in order to, and then we plug in our reason. Reason, decrease mass shooting. Okay, so now we have a thesis. Well, you have a viable thesis, one that you could use in your paper. If you want to reword it, of course you can. The purpose of this essay is to explain that gun legislation should regulate gun use in order to decrease the number of mass shootings. And so there we have a viable thesis that we can now use in our essay. But the thing is that, and the number one thing that I want you to notice, is that this disagrees with our 90%, because remember that 90% said we need to ban it. Your job now, right now, is to go into your research, find out what everybody believes. Does everybody believe, do 90% of people believe in evolution theory? Do 90% of people believe in something else, maybe gun legislation? Do they believe in banning guns? Do 90% of people think that that purple is the best color, that green is the best color? Whatever you can figure out. Do 90% of people think that Windows is better than Apple? Is Android better than iPhone? You know, whatever it is, you need to find something that 90% of people agree with. But you need to be able to disagree with everybody else, okay? So the Android and iPhone, that's more of like a 50-50. You need something that's more overwhelming than that. 60, 70, 80, 90% of people say something and you disagree with them. That's the goal that we're shooting for here. Once you figure that out, then you can start working on the subject, opinion, action, reason, the SOAR acronym. Once you get those things kind of filled in, then you can start working on the actual thesis. Now what I want you to turn into me is just this thesis sentence. Whenever you feel like you have a viable thesis sentence, I want you to turn it into me. I'll get online, I'll check it out, I'll read it, And then I'm going to give you some feedback. This one doesn't really seem like it goes against the masses. It doesn't really seem like it goes against the majority. It seems like you are the majority and you're going against the 10%. Or maybe I'll come back and say, good job. You've managed to find something that is everybody believes, but you for some reason disagree with it. Now, don't just go out there and disagree with everything. Okay, don't go out there and say everybody believes in the Constitution. I believe we shouldn't believe in the Constitution, because you have to be able to back it up. You have to be able to back it up with research. And if you can't back up whatever it is you're talking about, you're going to have a very difficult time actually writing your essay. But more or less, that's what I'm looking for this week, along with a couple other assignments, but I'll explain those in my weekly introduction video. So other than that, make sure you ask me questions. Let's see. This week, what is our actual week this week? The 9th, 14th through the 20th. Okay, so this week I'm actually going to be out of the country. So the best way to get a hold of me is via email, because I will have email access, and via Skype, because I'll have internet access, so I'll be able to get online. I don't know for sure. Verizon tells me I'll be able to use my phone overseas. And I've done it in the past, but I always think it's just kind of sketchy. So I would suggest not texting me if you have a question and not calling me if you have a question. Just go with email or Skype this week, because it's the most reliable method of getting in touch with me. If you do try and get in touch with me, I would suggest trying two modes because I just want to make sure that your questions get answered. If you go through email, also send me a Skype. If you send me a Skype, also send me an email or a follow-up. Or if you do manage to text me, email me or Skype me or something to make sure I got it, because I don't want your questions to be left unanswered. So anyways, like I said, I'll be out of the country. Contact me if you have questions. Just like I said, 2 modes of communication if you can. If you can't, well, just keep your fingers crossed that it actually goes through. And if not, if nothing else, I will receive it when I get back into the States, but that won't be until the 21st, after this week is already done. So that might do some damage to your grade if you have trouble with this assignment. But nonetheless, like I said, get in touch with me if you can, if you need to. If you need anything, let me know, and I will get back with you as soon as I can. Other than that, have a good week.